こんにちは、ハリケーンフットボールです。今回の教材は、プレミアリーグの日本人所属チームに関する動画です。プレミアリーグを主に分析などをしているジェームス・ローレンス・オーコットのチャンネルでは、プレミアリーグ開幕直前で、全チームのフォーメーションや戦い方、強みと弱み、サプライズになりそうなことを簡単に話しています。日本人は現時点で9チームに10人いることになりますが、まだ鈴木ザイオンがアストンビラ移籍する前の動画であり、かつ時間の問題からリアプールとトッテナムは省略させていただき、ブライトン、コベントリー、クリスタルパレス、イプスウィッチ、ハルシティ・リーズ・ユナイテッドの6クラブのみ切り取っています。すべての日本人について言及しているわけではありませんが、それぞれのクラブの特徴や状況が簡単にわかるようなものだと思いますので、実際の動画をチェックしてみましょう。
Right then, people, I'm going to be breaking down every Premier League manager's tactics for the new season. I'm going to be explaining how the nine new managers will set up, including Liverpool's new Iraola tactics, Xabi Alonso's Chelsea system, and Enzo Maresca's Man City approach. And of course, how the new signings will fit in at Arsenal and Man United. And we'll talk about surprises, strengths, and weaknesses as well. So let's go straight into it. What are the tactical shifts for the 26-27 season? Another team that haven't played many preseason games, just one 3-0 victory against Roma, is Brighton. Now, in terms of strengths for Brighton, you've got an unbelievable amount of squad depth in defence and in midfield. Had it last year as well. I think they're even bigger maybe this year. And all players' profiles, they're quite similar. It means that their style of play is going to remain unaffected when rotating. There was a fans forum recently. I'm a loser, so I read up on it. And they were talking about how they wanted to have that because they want to be ready to be able to play on four fronts. They want to get into Europe again. They want to deal with the Conference League. And I do think I could see a real clear, two sets of 11s. One, you're playing Conference League every single week. You're going to give those youngsters an opportunity. And then you've got your Premier League team. I think that's actually where we're moving in terms of football all round with so many teams getting into the Europa League. Now, it's a great breeding ground for some of those guys, especially in the Conference League. You've got your wingers who've got great one-on-one ability. Minte, of course, and Matoma and Johanna. Keep an eye on this lad, by the way. He can play on the right-hand side as well. I think he's actually maybe playing on the right-hand side a bit more in Sweden. 28 million Swedish record. Nigerian lad, 19. He's so much fun. There will be Twitter compilations on him. If you want to be a football hipster, get on him. Get your stocks on him early, I think. But of course, it's going to be that one-on-one ability that you're going to want to see with Brighton, that we always see. They can be really effective in transition, or they can drag those opponents into wide areas to disrupt low blocks, because you've got a lot of ball players in the middle here who can keep hold of the ball as well. Pascal Gross, really interesting one with the experienced players coming out of the squad. The fact they brought Pascal Gross back in January, I think, is a bit of a masterstroke for them. In terms of weaknesses, we've got to talk about the forward area, I think. It has to be a bit of a concern. Welbeck played 37 games last season, 26 starts, and they don't have a similar profile to Welbeck in that squad. You've got little specks of him in different ways, maybe sort of more the striking ability, and even like a Rutter who scored an absolute screamer against Roma. Could be that backboard, but Welbeck's ability to run in behind as well is really, really strong. They've got Simas and Kostulas, two players, and then Evan Ferguson, who's struggled, hasn't he, in his career in the last couple of years. So, are they going to kind of give him that opportunity? I'd be surprised. It's going to be about those two who are talented in terms of goal scoring, but do they offer the nous of Welbeck through his link play and ball retention? I'm not sure, and I think they'll start the season with Rutter in this team. Baliba might be struggling with an injury, but I think when he's fit, of course, he's going to be playing for the team. In terms of surprise, and it's a surprise maybe to me, Vuskovic, I think, is an interesting one because he did look extremely slow at the World Cup for Croatia when handling those transitions. And in the Premier League, that's going to be something you're going to have to deal with. And he played as central centre-back for Hamburg last season. So it didn't get very highlighted that he had so much protection around him. You're just not going to get that with a team that likes the ball like Brighton. And that could be an issue for a big signing for Brighton coming into this season. Right, Coventry. Come on, Coventry. Everyone's rooting for Coventry, right? So let's look at this squad. Their double pivot options are great. I really like them. Grimes, great player, deserves to be able to take the step up. He's great at progressing the ball for the team. And you've got some really exciting players in front of him that can get on the ball. Even Haji Wright, if he just drifts over to that left-hand side or plays over on that left-hand side, which he might do, even though he was more of a striker last season. But the double pivots are good. You've got Onyeka, who's going to break up the ball at times. You know, not an out-and-out Premier League player by this point. Of course, that's why Brentford have let him go and he dropped into the Championship. But as a pairing, the profiles are really, really good. But the big addition, this lad, Yarenki, I think that's how you say it, from Nordsjælland Island. I think that's how you say it. Unbelievable at covering ground, transitioning the ball as well. And he's got really good positional discipline, which is going to be really, really important for this team because they're going to have to suffer. They're going to have to not have the ball a lot of the time. And when they do have the ball, that's where it's really going to have to come to the fore for them. One player as well, I don't think anyone's spoken about, but I actually think this is good. And there's a few of these players knocking about. I actually think that Burnley squad wasn't that bad, even though they went down. And so when you can pick off those players like a Chowner, I think he fits the category of an overlooked player who's got real talent. Because I think talent-wise, he has a really high ceiling, physically perfect for the league as well, and was kind of hiding a little bit in terms of our knowledge at Burnley. I think he's a good player. So I think that's a really, really great addition. And there's speed and pace and quality in terms of the counter-attack for this team. I think in terms of weaknesses or questions for this team, I think what they're going to do is like, how much can they keep the ball? How can they get out? How can they get the ball back as well as a team? Because of course they scored, a lot of goals last year. And the striker options, I don't think are terrible. But what I'm looking at when it comes to this team, and this is an opportunity, it's a challenge, is who here is ready to step up and be known as a Premier League player? That's my question. And Ellis Sims could be that guy. Haji Wright was the top scorer last season, scored 17 goals, XG was 18. So in and around it, you'd love him to be running hot because you go, right, he's finding that too easy. Let's get him in the Premier League. But that pace in transition, it's one where if they can sort of get off to a good start, the pace of these players, one, back to goal, can you hold up the ball and help the team up the pitch? That's going to be one thing. But getting in behind as well, our Premier League defence is going to be able to just deal with that really, really comfortably, and then you'll not be able to get out. So the pressure on someone like Grimes to kind of get on the ball and dictate for this team is going to be really, really important. And those outballs in terms of those fullbacks, in terms of, again, dealing with pressure is going to be really important. That will be the big question mark for this Coventry side at the moment. In terms of surprise this season, keep an eye out for goalkeeper Carl Rushworth. Could be someone that catches the eye and racks up quite a lot of XG prevented. Another one would be Jack Redoni. Lampard has platformed him well as a 10, and towards the back end of last season, those goals and assists massively demonstrated Lampard's effect on him. On to Crystal Palace. Strengths, despite being one of the Premier League's new managers, Pierre Sarge has continued to use Palace's 3-4-2-1. And interestingly, I think the thing is that he does like to play a fullback in the back three. So, this is kind of, in terms of best players, let's chuck that out there. This is what you kind of would expect from Palace. But actually in pre-season, we've seen a couple of players come in. First of all, like an out-and-out left-back playing as a left-sided centre-back at times in pre-season in Sosa. And also, it feels like the midfield combo in terms of that double pivot, it seems that he really wants to use Doucouré, who's a really good player, who's obviously struggled with injuries at different times, and Kamada has generally come in and been great for them in that double pivot as well. So expect a bit more of a battle there for Kamada, and in terms of his positioning, where is he going to play? Is he going to play in that double pivot? Is he going to move a little bit higher up? Is that what you want, Palace fans? In terms of weaknesses, they've looked quite open at the back, and despite the formation remaining the same, they're now really, really trying to play out from the back a lot of the time, and it's kind of backfiring quite a bit in pre-season. That's maybe growing pains. They're also trying to counter-press a lot more on their opposition as well, and that leads to the centre-backs looking to jump a lot more, or certainly, I think the big thing as well in terms of the personnel, they were just so ingrained in what they were doing. Yes, under Glasner, they would jump as well, but they were a bit more solid as a unit, so that when they are jumping at the moment, it's leaving those big gaps in behind for the rest of them to have to deal with, and those wingers have been able to exploit them in pre-season. In terms of a surprise, we've said it a few times on this channel, but maybe this is it. May finally be Franca time. Maybe. Go back to the squad here. Mateus Franca is a player that we've spoken about on the channel a couple of times when he came in. He's played a lot in pre-season in this area here. And he's interesting because he's a fun little player. He actually scored a hat-trick against Swindon. And I think the biggest surprise might be him kind of finally get some minutes in this team. Time will tell, but he is a really exciting player. He's just really not been able to do anything for Palace up until now. I think the biggest surprise will be that people expect them to be the same as last season because of the formation, but the principles are not actually that similar. A lot more open, counter pressing, looking to play out from the back as well. Will that work? Are the players comfortable with it? And the players that are going to come in, and possibly in centre-back positions maybe more so, how will it fit? And how will the crowd respond to it as well? That's, I think, an interesting one when it comes to Crystal Palace this season. Hull City have looked very strong from attacking set pieces during season, not only through delivery, but also through their ability to retrieve second balls and put the ball into the box quickly. They've generally looked to play down the left-hand side this season, and they're looking to cross it in as much as possible. That attacking midfielder also staying high and looking to enter the box as well at different times. This is kind of the setup that they had with some slightly different players for that playoff final win, and I think there'll be a lot of similarities to that. You know, the ability of Giles, can you get him to a point here, get the ball into the box, but you want a kind of strong rest defence, but also the ability to break. The likes of Miller, of course, can do that. The likes of Balumi, he's got quality, can do that as well. And so if you lose the ball, if you can break, you've also got a stronger rest defence from a central area outside of that, and also a better out of possession setup when it comes to that as well, with these two kind of staying here. Hieto Dahl might drop in as well, or it might be a different midfielder there, and Ollie McBurney kind of up there on his own. Inevitably, they're going to be okay with not having the ball. And so I think I'm certain that's what's going to occur here. In terms of weaknesses, squad quality's got to be the main issue. They've brought in Morita from Sporting, who is good at retaining possession, and he'll be great for that. You almost feel like he needs a little bit of protection. You know, and how good will he be with the ball if he's doing it kind of 70 yards away from goal, and with the pressure intensity of the Premier League? I thought at times, I remember the Arsenal Sporting game, I watched that one, I thought he struggled on occasion. You were able to get at him, and look, Premier League level, not everyone's going to be as good as Arsenal, obviously in defence, but that's something that Morita will have to kind of deal with and hopefully thrive in, because you're going to need that from the midfield too. Not just to work hard and keep your positions, but get on the ball. That's what Morita brings more than anything else. And they will look to play long, I think, to McBurney at times. They will look to kind of just be resolute. And when the opponent wins the ball, their pressing structure, it's a bit kind of too individualistic at times. I don't think it's the whole team. They don't commit to it. So I think they've got to be careful with that. And I think there'll be a lot of moments where McBurney is kind of on his own, but he will be up for the fight in those areas. In terms of a surprise, they've signed goalkeeper Solakis from Olympiacos. And when he was there, he was the best goalkeeper in the Greek league by a mile, and is going to have to play a huge part this season for them. Right, let's talk Ipswich. Now, strengths. Let's go back to their squad first and foremost. Have they have the closest chance, I think, of replicating Sunderland from last season, given those incomings? Maeda, Florentino, Fatawu, Emerson, get to him, Diop as well. It feels like a much more savvy Ipswich squad and team. Florentino, Luis, I think, is a really good example of, again, that kind of Burnley scraps, let's say, or players that aren't kind of really being kind of noticed last season, that actually I think they can play Premier League football and be solid additions to the team, and effective additions, more importantly than anything else. And I think there really will be a bit of a box forming here, a real sort of wizard you shall not pass when it comes to that midfield too. Lukic and Luis. Lukic will want to go that little bit more, but he's still got that energy to sit in if he needs to, I think. And Diop and O'Shea. But there's good size in those two as well, which I think is a real benefit for them in terms of this team. But you can see you've got a lot of new signings here. Lukic, Luis, Emerson, Fatawu, Maeda in this team. Diop, of course, as well. And the goalkeeper as well. 6'9" goalkeeper. Again, a little bit more savvy from Ipswich maybe this season. Fatawu and Maeda are both pretty lightning. They've got that capacity to target those big spaces as well, which Gary O'Neill, I think, will want to do. I think, look, in terms of weaknesses, maybe, they have lost Kieran McKenna, who built the squad around quite an attacking style of play, and they kind of went for that in that first season in the Prem, and let's be honest, it didn't work. So they have brought in for, if they've been coerced into it, or, they've had to make this decision. In terms of Gary O'Neill, has obviously come in, and he looks to be moving towards a transition-based system with the physicality that's needed for the league. I'm here for it. I think it's a good idea. The big question is how quick can he translate that style into a group who have been playing McKenna's style since 2021? Also, in terms of that attacking midfield position, who are they going for? Is it Ageli, or is it going to be a different player? Emerson up top, is he going to be the striker? Are there more additions on their way? I haven't put in Nunez here, who I feel like is a real... he's a really complete player for them. Had the most assists for them last season. So do you have a more compact midfield here of these three? Does Nunez play as that 10? Is it Mehmeti? Who is it? Ipswich fans, tell me. I'm sure you'll know better than I will. In terms of surprise, Maeda. I think Maeda may shock people a little bit. Aesthetically, not great. Bit of a speedboat complex to him. But despite this, he routinely finds himself on the end of great chances, doesn't stop, and he can be quite deadly in front of goal at times. But it's all about how they platform him. He needs to be that sort of Martinelli player who's as high up as possible. And so maybe when it comes to that midfield, does it need to wiggle around a little bit? Having two players high and wide for them, is that something you've got to be careful with? And do you want to get him close to that centre forward as well so that he can kind of help? Is Emerson the backboard? That's the one question I would put out there as well. 8 goals last season, 4 to lose. Is that enough to be then stepping into the Premier League and be able to hit the ground running? They bought a lot of players. They maybe need 1 or 2 more. Leeds United, strengths. They are continuing to use that 3-4-3 system. They're in there, and they're loving it. I saw an article with Daniel Farker, and he kind of made a couple of comments last season about moving away from it, or, he's always wanted to play beautiful football. Is he going to look to continue to do that? Not yet, I don't think. It's going to be 3-4-3. It served them very well last season, and they have been menaces from long throws in pre-season. Expect that to continue, and it's understandable with the height that this team possesses. They maintain that physical profile that they've got, but they have added a little bit of quality in the likes of Harry Wilson, of course, with the goals and the output that he had. He was actually sort of low-key one of the best players in the Premier League last season. People won't want to say it, but he was. He was running hot. And they should be incredibly strong from set pieces in particular this season. In terms of weaknesses, that 3-4-3 can be problematic at times when defending wide spaces. Liverpool overloaded both sides of the pitch, and then once that kind of happened, certain players are getting dragged over. It really stretched that back three of Leeds, meaning that they dropped incredibly deep, and the midfielders of Liverpool were then playing 30 yards away from Leeds' goal, and they were able to dictate. But as long as they're comfortable with that in Premier League games, certain Premier League games, then that's probably okay as well. But you've just got to be careful. Are you going to drop in, or are you going to all move across to one side? That's going to then leave spaces on the other side. It's something that I think with their comfort in this system, it's not the biggest of the weaknesses, but it's, systematically, it's the biggest weakness. In terms of surprises, no huge surprises for them in terms of play style, which I've kind of alluded to. However, the biggest surprise will probably be that they're quite a bit better than last season. People also quick to dismiss the Harry Wilson signing, but he has been great for Leeds so far in pre-season. Keep an eye on him.
次は解説です。今回はイギリスでよく使われる表現や比喩的な表現も多くありましたので、本日の解説をチェックしてみましょ
う。You've got little specks of him in different ways.
スペックは小さな点やほんのわずかな量という意味の名詞です。よく使われる表現に a speck of dust があり、小さな埃やほんの小さな埃という意味になります。not a speck of すると、何かがほんの少しもないという意味でも使えます。スペックは、ごく小さな点や一部分というイメージで覚えるとわかりやすい単語です。一方、日本語でもスペックが高いのように、スペックという言葉を人に使うことがあります。この場合は学歴や経歴、能力など、その人の条件や特徴を指すことが多いですが、英語のスペシフィケーションを略したスペックが由来です。今回のスペックとは意味も綴りも異なる別の単語です。同じ発音のため、リスニングでは前後の文脈からどちらの単語なのか判断する必要があります。
You've got little specks of him in different ways. You've got little specks of him in different ways. The nous of Welbeck through his link play and ball retention.
nous は知恵や実践的な判断力という意味の名詞です。特にイギリス英語で使われることが多い単語です。サッカーではタキティカヌースという表現をよく見かけます。これは単なる頭の良さではなく、状況を読み適切にプレーする戦術的な賢さという意味です。ベテラン選手が経験を生かして賢くプレーするときなどに非常に使いやすい単語です。経験から身につけた実践的な賢さというイメージで覚えるとわかりやすいです。
The nous of Welbeck through his link play and ball retention. The nous of Welbeck through his link play and ball retention. In terms of best players, let's chuck that out there.
チャックは投げるやホールという意味のカジュアルな動詞です。特にイギリス英語では throw の砕けた言い方としてよく使われます。ただし、実際に投げる場合だけでなく、適当に入れるや置くという意味でも使われます。チャックアウトになると、捨てるや追い出すという意味になります。ポンと投げるという基本イメージから意味を広げて覚えるとわかりやすいです。
In terms of best players, let's chuck that out there. In terms of best players, let's chuck that out there. You know, if they've been coerced into it or...
コースは、人に圧力をかけて何かをさせるという意味の動詞です。フォースと似ていますが、コースは心理的な圧力や脅しなどによって相手を従わせるニュアンスがあります。今回の動画では、イプスウィッチが状況的に監督交代を余儀なくされた可能性について使われています。この場面では、文字通り誰かに脅されたという強い意味ではなく、状況に追い込まれて、そうせざるを得なかったという程度に理解するのが自然です。ニュースや法律関係でもよく見かける上級語彙です。
You know, if they've been coerced into it or, you know, if they've been coerced into it or, bit of a speedboat complex to him.
コンプレックスは、形容詞では複雑なという意味で非常によく使われます。名詞では複合施設や心理的なコンプレックスなど、いくつか異なる意味があります。日本語でコンプレックスといえば一般的に劣等感を指しますが、英語では正確には、an inferiority complex と言います。コンプレックスだけで必ずしも劣等感を意味するわけではなく、心理的なこだわりや強く根付いた考え方などを表します。反対に優越感は a superiority complex と表現できます。今回の動画では前田大然に対して a speedboat complex という比喩的で少し変わった表現が使われています。これは一般的な決まり文句ではありませんが、前田のプレーをスピードボートのような速さと勢いを前面に出したスタイルに例えていると考えられ、そのままスピードコンプレックスというのか、スピード頼りやスピード症候群というようなイメージで使われていると考えられます。スピード頼みに見えるところがあるというニュアンスで理解するとわかりやすいでしょ
う。Bit of a speedboat complex to him. Bit of a speedboat complex to him. Is Emerson the backboard?
バックボールは本来バスケットボールのゴールの後ろにあるバックボールを意味します。今回の動画ではこれをサッカーのプレーに例えて使っています。ボールをバックボールに当てると跳ね返ってくるように、前線の選手にボールを当てて味方へ返してもらうイメージです。そのため、この文脈では、壁役や前線の起点という意味になります。日本のサッカーでいうポストプレーにかなり近いイメージです。バックボールがサッカーの正式な戦術用語というわけではなく、この動画では選手の役割をわかりやすく説明するために使った比喩的な表現です。日本語では前線の起点や、ボールを収める壁役と訳すと自然です。
Is Emerson the backboard? Is Emerson the backboard?
いかがでしたか？特に新加入選手であることもあり、前田大然と守田英正に期待されていることも感じましたね。鈴木ザイオンのアストンビラ移籍が決定し、高井幸太のローン移籍の可能性はあるものの、 現時点で10人目のプレミアリーガーが誕生しました。今回の動画でも6チーム分を切り取ると、なかなかの量になると実感しています。欲を言えば、遠藤航はミルナーがいなくなった枠でブライトンか、シントトロイデンの再開としてクリスタルパレスに行ってほしいと思いますし、中村敬斗のハルシティ移籍や、上田綺世や佐野海舟が、移籍市場ギリギリでサプライズがないかなと期待してはいますが、今シーズンのプレミアリーグは、日本人のニュースだけでも騒がしくなりそうで、楽しみしかありません。相変わらず私のモチベーションはなかなか上がりませんが、もう少しは粛々と続けていきたいと思っています。本日もご視聴いただきありがとうございました。またすぐにお会いしましょう。